on Salvation 9 is the invading enemy force. And I can't believe you're unaware of how dangerous, how murderous and unstoppable they are.
Actually, I'm here to save them.
Hunting is all very well, but being the one who wipes a whole species out of existence, that's more than being a hunter. That's like being a god.
You may approach. Seek me on my throne. Oh, and Doctor, no tricks. I now know what you are.
Hello and welcome to Who Watches Who, a Doctor Who podcast with me, Matthew, and as always we are joined with...
Hello, I'm Scott.
Hello, Scott.
You burped right in my face.
I did, and everybody's earlobes. Hello, Scott. It is kind of a weird bit of the Doctor Who time right now, isn't it? Because obviously Jodie's regenerating next week, so we don't want to be jumping into any big two-part stories. There's like not really much Doctor Who news going on at the moment now because everything's building up to this big release. It's just kind of in this state of like hesitation, and we figured, well, you know, now's a good time to catch up on Big Finish. So we are finally getting around to reviewing Christopher Ecclestone's latest box set with Big Finish. Of course, this is how we started the podcast, was reviewing Ecclestone's comeback to Doctor Who and through Big Finish, and this is his
Sixth.
Oh my
it's
god.
It's mental.
How has he done 6 already? Is this the
next
one this year?
No, next month we're getting the 7th.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
There's one more to go this year, which is...
Big Finish don't fucking stop, do they? Jesus.
They really don't. I mean, we're getting the 3rd series of Christopher Ecclestone, which we never thought would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's also enjoying doing them, so...
Yeah, which is good.
We're mostly enjoying listening to them. Mostly.
Yeah, we'll chat about that in a little bitty. This first came out in what, like August or something? Was it this year?
Yeah, I want to say August, yeah.
Yeah, so...
We're behind.
Not too long ago, it was like 6 prime ministers or something like that. So I don't have too much on the preamble. Really, we're just going to be chatting a bit casually about the episodes and what we thought about this Big Finish drama. If you've never listened to one of our Big Finish reviews, I highly recommend you go out and listen to the episodes and buy them before listening to the reviews, obviously, because these will be spoiler filled. But this also, it's not as structured as our episodic takedowns, because episodically we're dissecting them scene by scene. Audio dramas a lot harder to dissect scene by scene. It would take us fucking forever. So we just kind of chat about the overarching story and what our thoughts were.
The worst part about this is we can't recommend individual episodes. You have to buy the complete box set, whereas I think this would work if you could buy individual episodes. The only one I'd really recommend for people to listen to is the first one, Salvation 9, which is probably the best one of the box set.
I think it might be one of my favorite ones out of all of his box sets.
Yeah.
I had a fucking blast with that episode. Like, an absolute just jolly good time.
Yeah, you want to jump into it?
Sure. So, the first episode in Doctor Who Back to Earth. That's not the title of this one, is it? This one's not Back to Earth.
The whole box set is called... No, it's called... Into
Back to Earth was
Space.
the last one. Yeah.
Yes. My bad.
Well, in this box set that's not called Back to Earth, with the episode Salvation 9 by Timothy X Attack, with the cool name again. Timothy X Attack writes quite a lot of Big Finish.
He does.
It sounds like a fake name. I wonder if it's like a pseudonym for somebody.
It reminds me of David X. Cohen, the co-creator of Futurama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Doctor happens upon an unusual outpost and discovers it is about to be annihilated. To save Salvation 9, he must rally people from whom war is an alien concept and protect the future of the Sontaran race. This entire concept of, these Sontarans that got separated from the rest of them and evolved into basically Ewoks is fucking an incredible idea. It's such an interesting take on Sontarans that I've never even considered before. I like, they got the female Sontaran in there, and they go into the science of that, and it's just a fucking spectacular exploration. What I really liked about this episode as well, which is where I think the next episode falls really fucking short of. This episode's really just a lot of the Doctor chatting with people and trying to find a diplomatic solution to things, and it's just so lighthearted. It's fun while being serious. It's so good.
Yeah, a lot of it reminds me of the classic Sea Devils or Silurian storylines, which is funny I say that because the next box set is going to have Sea Devils, and I'm excited to see what they do with Sea Devils after this episode, after the Cyberman episode as well.
Yeah.
What the Christopher Ecclestone era as a whole does, and I'm talking about TV and the audio dramas, is it finds a new unique twist on villains, whether it's the Daleks in Dalek or the Cybermen in one of these other box sets that came out like last year or this year, whether it's the second time we saw Margaret Sylvain, where she basically gets humanized. I really like the concept of like redemption for these villains. And after the Doctor, basically committed genocide against his species as well as the Daleks, it feels nice to get a redemption arc for like a villain whose entire premise is based on genocide. So it really works, in my opinion.
It also, I think, makes the Sontarans interesting. Because, the Sontarans are a pretty one-note villain. They are a giant clone army there to kill everybody and take over the universe. The end. And whenever you really explore the Sontarans, it's always played off for like, comedic effect. Chocolate makes them drunk, and he's going to be standing in the shop and goes, chocolate. Sorry, I just had to relive that moment very recently, and it's burning in my head. Whereas this goes into exploring like the ethics of Sontarans, their history behind them. What if Sontarans didn't want to go to war? What if they were just peaceful people? What if they didn't even know like what the fucking little tubes in the back of their necks were for? That's
what I was gonna say. They never even mentioned the little thing on the back of their necks, the little like air vent in Death Star that destroys the Death Star. They never even mentioned that little tube thing. Because that's always used at the end of the day to kill the Sontarans, and it's a bit silly. It's always been a bit silly in my opinion.
It's silly the way that I like to think about it, because it's like an exhaust port or something like that, isn't it? It's like a fucking probing thing, or maybe it's like how they're grown or something. But it's a way. I don't know if they've ever said it or if it's just something I've headcanoned, but because they're this warrior race, I like to imagine, or I was told this explicitly, it's to stop them, retreating. Because turn your back on the enemy, you're gonna die. Make sure you're always fucking facing your enemies. I think it's a cool concept for this warrior race to have. But you also, what I really liked, and what really hooked me in, because the first half is just the Doctor kind of chatting with the Sontarans and trying to figure out if they're fucking with him or not. And then by the second half, he's figured out that they're not really fucking with him, and he wants to try and help them. But then he discovers, and this is where I really got sucked into this episode, that there was a race of people on this planet before the Sontarans arrived, and these Sontarans' ancestors fucking wiped them out, like absolutely destroyed them. So then he's got this moral confusion of, do I help you even though you're a conquering species on this planet, that you, even if you don't remember it,
Yeah, but it kind of reminds me of the CW show Supergirl, which I watched for too long because that show wasn't very good. But in like season 2, they did a story arc where you have the Martian Manhunter, who's a green Martian, and his arch enemy is the white Martians, who basically committed genocide against his entire planet. And then he discovers on Earth there's a white Martian who wasn't involved with the genocide, and the green Martian basically has to come into grips with, okay, this Martian didn't commit any genocide that I know of. This white Martian is a perfectly normal person, and I need to come into grips with accepting my prejudice against this creature, basically. And it's a really powerful arc in otherwise not that good show.
Yeah, and we also see from the other side the human. Although the one bit that I didn't like is this human empire thing that's going on, and the I guess the quote unquote villains. The action scenes when they're fighting up against the antagonists is just robots. so the Sontarans don't ever have to kill anybody. They still have to use weapons, they still have to fight, but they're not killing anybody because it's robots. Woohoo! Thank fuck they sent robots and not people. Otherwise, what would we do? I felt like that was a bit of a cop out to to just have them win by battle and not have to just like contradict any of their pacifist rules. But
it feels like if this was like real life, obviously it's not real life. Obviously, it would never be real life. Doctor Who doesn't make sense in real life. But if this was real life,
wait,
I'd be
Doctor
like,
Who's
okay,
not real?
the Doctor should just be like, okay, human who's going to attack this planet. Why don't I take you to this planet and you can interact with these Sontarans for a little bit, or I could show you a video of me interacting with these Sontarans, and we can kind of like show that these Sontarans are evolved from ancestors. Whereas if this episode kind of goes off the rails, kind of, oh yeah, we have to pretend.
We have to pretend to be regular Sontarans to trick these Sontarans into coming in, so that the good guys will come in and fight those Sontarans, so that they'll see that we're good Sontarans. Like, it gets a bit fucking 3-dimensional chessy.
and then the Doctor is given a time limit of 60 minutes. Mate, you have a fucking time machine. You could have as much time as you need. You could go back in time to when these good Sontarans were born and basically show. Time machine.
No, he doesn't. What are you talking about? But talking about like the Doctor and the Sontarans, let's chat a little bit about the cast in this, because I think Ecclestone is at his fucking best. He is like, you can tell he liked this script because he is giving it his all, and Dan Starkey as the Sontarans is incredible. Like, oh my god, just the voice. He is Sontaran. Like,
and there's a danger here where he could be a bit too much like Strax, because obviously the Sontaran the Doctor encounters is kind of Strax-like in nature, almost.
Very, very takes
comedic.
Everything at face value, comedic. Like,
But Dan Starkey really plays off a new kind of Sontaran that you really feel like is realistic enough in terms of this non-realistic being, but I really liked Gaznak, played by Josie Lawrence, who was the female Sontaran. I thought the idea of a female Sontaran, while like first reaction is always, of course, it's a female Sontaran. It was a kind of an inevitability. I think the idea and the concept they came up with this female Sontaran was fucking awesome. I thought they were performed really well. I loved how they actually went in and bothered to try and explain the quote-unquote science behind how a female Sontaran could exist. Quite honestly, I was very happy just nature, finds a way, we'll just Jurassic Park this shit. Life finds a way. But no, they go in and they explain, like, as they get older, the chromosomes change, and they've always had this in their DNA. They've just been living for fucking ages. The Sontarans die naturally, well, not naturally, but they die quite young due to war, because they're always in a warlike state, and they never get the chance to develop into females. And it's because, obviously, when they're created, all the testosterone and the male qualities are always bombarded into them, whereas eventually they just kind of settle down and just turn into females, which is really interesting. It's like an interesting retcon that doesn't actually change anything at the end of the day.
Because at the end of the day, Sontarans are going to war, aren't they?
Yeah.
So they're never going to get that old. It's very... Although, I think it would be cool to see it in live action. A female Sontaran. I think it would be an interesting design.
Like, imagine if the next time we see Strax, he's just female. And
it would anger. It would anger so many people.
I mean, the Potato Man and the Green Lizard and the Human just are a lesbian threesome.
Yeah, they're polyamorous now. That
would work.
It would upset so much Twitter. Twitter would burn to the goddamn ground. But yeah, I thought this was a really, really solid episode for the most part.
Yeah.
It's I also one of the strong. I think I rank this in top 3, maybe even higher. Like, this could be my favorite out of these Ecclestone box sets, because holy crap, I've never been so entertained for 50 minutes of an audio drama. This one, like, is worth the price of the other two. The other two do not hold up as well as this one, especially the fucking next one, which we'll get to in a minute. But this one, I think, is worth getting the box set for alone.
Yeah, the only weak part of this first episode, I would say, is the humans that the Doctor is trying to convince. We kind of feel like two-dimensional characters, in a sense. They just don't really interest me. I understand that the main human character is basically like has a big prejudice against them because she's been fighting this war for her entire life or whatever. But they just kind of come across as second two-dimensional. It just doesn't feel like it fits in the overall story.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. But I don't have too much left to say about this episode. You got any remaining thoughts?
Just that Dan Starkey is fucking funny as shit in this episode, man. When he first gets introduced, he's just like, "Oh, don't walk that way because that way's muddy. I don't want you to get your shoes all muddy. I like your jacket. Is it made of animals?" I mean, the Doctor puts his hands up because obviously he thinks he's gonna get shot by a Sontaran.
He puts his hands up as well. And when the fucking female comes along, he's like, "We're putting our hands up. Would you like to join?"
It's just so funny.
It is.
Oh
my god.
And then when the Doctor's like, "Okay, the TARDIS is bigger on the inside," and then Dan Starkey's like, "It's okay. Sometimes my room gets like that too when it's messy."
Yeah. Oh god, it's so many little good one-liners from Dan Starkey.
Yeah.
I'm losing my voice.
I almost wish this was an actual episode of a TV series, man. It's
my god,
so much fun.
Yeah, it would be such a charming little episode of the TV series for sure. Although I think a lot of these Ecclestone box sets would be good TV episodes. That's why it's it's kind of sad we'll never see him on TV again as the Doctor.
Yeah, this is definitely among one of my favorites. I would say the Cyberman is the top, and then you have this one, and I can't think of any rankings, but Girl Deconstructed and
the one in the house about.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Some really good solid episodes. The box sets themselves haven't been really consistent.
They started off really well. Like the first two box sets I remember being pretty fucking decent. And then as it's gone on, it's getting a bit more like there's a good one here out of three, or maybe this second half of this one's good. It's getting a bit more iffy, but you can't expect them all to be fucking home runs, can you?
I would definitely say Big Finish really should start selling me separately. Like price them at $6.99, $7.99. And just have the option for people to be like, "Oh my god, there's a Sontaran episode. I want to buy this for $6.99. It'd be great." I imagine that would make them more money at the end of the day, honestly.
Yeah. Or drop 30 quid for these 3 stories. Out of the one you're interested in. The next story that we've got is Last of the Zeta Scene by James Kettle. The rich and the criminal rub shoulders on Stage 3 spaceport and play high-stake games for valuable prizes. The Doctor is always interested in endangered species, and the Zeta Scene is more endangered than most. This episode, I could not fucking tell you the story of because I zoned out at least 10 times because it is fucking awful. It is boring as shit, and there's a dude who's got the worst fucking digitally altered voice you've ever heard, and it made listening to him painful.
Like the dude that really likes to sniff things.
Probably. I don't remember. It was whoever. There was like the scene with the robot voice man, and he just kept talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like.
Yeah. Basically, the story is about a bunch of rich people who play poker, and the prize is this rare specimen of a creature called the Zeta Scene. It's basically like a giant pig from the sounds of it. And the Doctor arrives and is like, "I can't let this pig be a prize." He meets a human called Nell. Right. And basically, they pretend she's a queen for some reason so that she can play the card game and win the game by using the sonic screwdriver and psychic paper. Not really sure how that works, but and then she wins the game and they win the pig, but the pig gets loose and starts killing all these rich people.
Okay.
And then the story basically ends because basically like there's one rich person who really likes keeping trophies and he's killed in a way that he makes him look like a trophy. There's one dude who really likes sniffing and I can't remember how he dies. Basically, nothing happens for the first half of the story.
Yeah. That, like, I really don't remember this story, like, almost at all. And I remember the other two stories very clearly.
Yeah.
This one, I think this is my least favorite Ecclestone one that's come out of Big Finish, because this episode honestly was so shit. Like, I think it's probably my out of the Big Finish I've listened to, this might be my least favorite episode, full stop. I don't think they've ever done one that's bored me quite as much as this. Like, there's been some where I've, like, struggled to pay attention, or I've zoned out briefly for a bit here or here, but this one was just, there was nothing engaging about the story.
The one good thing I would say is the casting of Maureen O'Brien as CeeLo, who's basically like the main organizer of this card game.
They managed it. There you
go. Yeah. And she was actually from the classic series. She played Vicky, and you would never be able to tell just by her voice alone. She gives a great performance here. But the only problem is another woman who's a rich lady named Luton. Right. Sounds very similar to her, and I got confused between which one was which. They both had similar mannerisms. They had both. It was very strange. You just couldn't tell which one was which at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is obviously an anti-capitalism storyline, and the problem is there's no bite to it. Like, if you want to do an anti-capitalism storyline, Christopher Ecclestone's Doctor is the perfect choice to do it with, because he's all about that, really.
Yeah,
but there's no bite to it. There's no. The satire isn't funny enough. The rich people are just bland. They're just really bland. There's nothing interesting about the storyline. It feels like
the alien is bland. Even the alien's bland.
It feels like the storyline between Finn and Rose in The Last Jedi. Where they go into this
the
casino world.
Yeah,
and they try to save this horse.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like that, but that's the worst part of that movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I did not vibe with this episode at all. I think Ecclestone is fine in it. He's doing his best. He's got a speech at the end about having this lady come in as a companion, it's a fun little speech, but turns out she wasn't interested in the Doctor.
Yeah. Basically, she's like, "Do you want to come with me?" She's like, "I want to come with you," and she's talking to the creature, and the Doctor thinks she's talking to him, and he has this speech like, "Do you want to travel with me? It's dangerous. You will like it at the end." And then she's like, "No, I was talking to a pig." And then she just goes off with a pig. But she's not that interested in the character. When she introduces herself, she's like, "My name is Nell, spelled with one L, like lasagna." And it's like, okay, that's not really funny.
What? That makes like no sense. Like,
it kind of reminds me of when what was her name, Linda, in the Parting of the Ways at the very end of series 1. She was the big rubber game show contestant who got killed by the Dalek.
Yes.
She introduces herself as Linda, or with a Y instead of an I, or something like that. It reminds me of that, but this feels so much less clever and cute.
Yeah, it doesn't. It like struggles to make sense. It feels very forced. You know. Yeah. There's not a lot to talk about with this one. We spent almost 20 minutes talking about the last one. We've spent 5 minutes talking about this one, because this one, honestly, like that sums up my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's probably easily the worst of the Christopher Ecclestone box sets so far. Stories so far.
Yeah,
but it does pick up. The box set sure does pick up.
It starts strong, really fucking wobbles in the middle, and ends pretty strong as well. Doesn't end as strong as it started, but it's a solid ending nonetheless. With Break the Ice by Tim Foley. On a chilly space station, the Doctor meets a group of scientists experimenting with cryogenics. But when one subject returns from extreme sub-zero temperatures, he does not return alone. A creature awakens that can freeze the soul with icy fingers. Jack Frost. And you've included a picture of Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin. Great movie. This episode, weirdly Christmassy for like a summer release that this Big Finish
but it tracks with Christopher Ecclestone. He had a episode that came out in like April of 2005, where he's meeting the three ghosts of Christmas with Charles Dickens.
Yeah.
So I guess he has 2 Christmas specials now.
Yeah. I also didn't expect this episode to be about Jack Frost, because I didn't read any descriptions going into anything. I just pressed play and let's see what's going to happen. And when the Doctor went, Jack Frost, I legit went, what? Like, I laughed a bit because holy shit, what the fuck? Jack Frost is a space god who goes by, it's kind of like the devil from that Devil episode with David Tennant, where it's like this evil space alien that goes by lots of names because it projects its image into lots of things. Although, as far as I could tell, Jack Frost here is just a legitimate god that fucks around in different places.
Yeah. And this was also done in a previous Christopher Ecclestone box set, the Grimady Grew from the last box set with the train and the Lost Souls.
Yeah.
It was also like a fairy tale kind of creature.
Yeah, there's fairy tale stuff going on with Ecclestone at the moment. Very strange. That being said, I really liked the camp sci-fi feel that this episode had when they're talking about, being at absolute zero and the guy getting really cold. And the entire time, Jack Frost is like this fucking mustache twirling villain being like, ooh, it's a bit too warm in here for me. Better open a window. Just freezing everybody to death. It's such a fun little villain.
Yeah, and Jack Frost is played by Pip Torrens, who we saw recently in Human Nature. He was the headmaster, if you remember that episode.
Oh, I would never have guessed that.
And he was also amazing as one of the main villains in Preacher. He was very good in Preacher. He has such a great voice to deliver villain monologues. He's really good.
I need to start Preacher, but I need to finish Breaking Bad first. I'm on the last episode. Then I might watch Preacher, or I might watch Mr. Robot. I haven't decided yet.
Preacher is a fun show. I still need to watch the final season, but it's made by the same crew as The Boys.
Yes, fucking Seth Rogen producing shit.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah, out of did the first one have a potential companion?
Yes. No, the first one did not.
No, I guess this potential companion was the Sontaran, maybe.
That'd be fun.
But yeah, out of the 2 potential companions, this one had probably the best potential companion.
Yes.
In the form of Dr. Lenny Fisk, who's basically this lead scientist of the station, and she has a family. She wants to cure her son of leukemia. Was it?
Yeah.
And she basically,
I don't know if they ever outright say leukemia, but there's if they did, I missed it. But there is she's got a wife back home, and their son is super ill and dying and shit. Also that the wife is. I really liked their relationship that the wife and the companion lady had, and the wife making the ship's AI sound like hers. There's just these cute little touches.
Yeah. And the communications between the ship's AI and the Doctor was
the flirty relationship.
Because obviously she's programmed to be flirty with the companion lady. I think she could have been a really good companion. She's really smart, and she also has this weakness of being anxiety prone, and there's really this good moment where she's in the ventilation shaft, and she just has this moment of anxiety, and the Doctor speaks to her in a way where he's like, yeah, I'm going to support you through this. It's okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, he doesn't just be like, actually, I'm a bit too awkward right now, so I'm going to walk away from you. And you just deal with whatever you're dealing with, okay? Okay, bye.
But yeah, that was a really lovely moment for the Doctor to have.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, at the end where he goes home, where he takes her home to meet the son and the wife, and we basically go to this star which will cure the son's leukemia, whatever, which is an interesting concept. The concept of space stuff curing leukemia. I never thought about before.
Yeah, I guess one of the ideas behind it is the way that you cure cancer is with radiation treatment. Throwing your boy out into space where there's lots of radiation, sure, it's just kind of like putting him in a microwave, I guess. I didn't know how I felt about that ending, honestly. I don't know if I like the idea of the Doctor can cure cancer. it plays into that whole, if the Doctor could do this, if he knows the cure for cancer, why doesn't he just go to Earth and be like,
that's a good point.
Here's the cure for cancer, by the way.
But you know, this lady discovered the cure for cancer, and she's going to go home and be like, this is the cure for cancer, and this is how you solve cancer. I mean, she's going to go up in space and cure cancer, whatever. It's going to be something she does naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, but still, it just left me a weird feeling with me with that ending. I think I would have almost liked it if the son didn't get cured, and you know, they save the day and they do all this thing, but then there's still that, like, yeah, my son's still dying, you know, like, sure, I'm a hero, I saved the day, whatever, but not everything's great. Like, I still have my own troubles at home. Not everything's going to be fixed with the wave of a magic wand because a magic man with the magic box showed up. You know, sometimes just that little bit of realism. And which is what I really liked with this episode, is that little bit of realism in the absurd. Because obviously, you know, Jack Frost is the villain. He's going around freezing people. It's completely fucking ludicrous. But
at one point he freezes a couple who basically went off to shag. It's indicated they just went off to shag to feel the warmth of each other.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's completely ludicrous, and having those bits of realism, like, oh, my son's got leukemia, oh, fucking, I have panic attacks, oh, I really miss my wife, you know, all these little touches of realism that make you care for the characters through the absurdity, I really liked. And then, you know, the ending where I was like, you know, maybe just keep the realism a bit, but it still works. It doesn't leave me as emotionally wrecked as I wanted this episode to leave me.
The little bits of realism in the companion's life felt like Russell T Davies for me. I wonder if Russell T Davies is ever going to listen to these box sets and be like, I probably wouldn't do it this way, I would do it this way. I'd be really interested to hear his opinions on each storyline, because it feels very different to what he did in his era. But at the same time, it feels like it's trying to emulate his era at the same time. It feels weird.
For me, a lot of the episodes feel like they would fit in the second half of his Ecclestone era, more so than the first, because obviously the first half of Ecclestone, basically before Dalek, the show's very child friendly, you know, there's this Slovene and the fart jokes and, you know, whatnot, and then Dalek, it starts to get this more serious tone, and Bad Wolf starts coming in a lot more, whereas I feel like a lot of these would fit in with that. I would be really interested to see what Russell thought about them. I really doubt he's ever going to listen to them. If anything, he'll probably chat with what's the name of the guy that runs Big Finish?
Nicholas Briggs.
Yes, Nicholas Briggs. He'll probably just chat with Nicholas Briggs about episodes and be like, oh, that's an interesting idea. But yeah, he seems too busy to be able to sit down and listen to 3 hours of Doctor Who like every fucking week when they release Big Finish episodes.
One of my favorite touches of this is basically it's obviously Christmas time, and Jack Frost apparently wears the paper crown found in the Christmas cracker for most of the episode. I really like that detail for some reason. It's just so funny.
Honestly, I think, you know, out of the 3 episodes, as much as I would love to see the Sontaran one because it was so charming, seeing Jack Frost as a live-action villain would be fucking hysterical. It would be great. I think it's like this episode would make a very fun Christmas special. That's you know, instead of Christmas specials are usually camp and cheesy anyway. I think this would be a really good fit. You could stick right in there.
Out of the 3, this would definitely be the easiest to film because there's a basic base under siege storyline. It's very basic.
Yeah,
I would say this is like slightly above average, whereas it's something I really enjoyed listening to, but I don't think I'll ever be like, oh, I really fancy going back to that Jack Frost episode.
Yeah, I'll never be like fucking holy shit, you need to listen to this episode. This episode's fucking outstanding. It's like, yeah, this was a really fun episode. I was entertained thoroughly throughout. You know, I never had a moment where I was like, oh, this sucks, like I did with episode 2. But episode 1, I do genuinely think is fucking excellent. Like,
overall, I would say episode 1 and 3 are worth the $19.99 asking price, whatever the asking price is these days for Big Finish.
£200 and your house.
Yeah, 3 hours of solid entertainment. Even the second one isn't that bad. I've seen worse Doctor Who stories.
Yes, I've seen worse, but listening to it is where it gets hard because you get distracted by everything else around you. You know, that's more interesting than what's going on in your ears. Whereas the other two, I felt absorbed into the story.
to be fair, we've only listened to one range of these Big Finish storylines. There's probably way worse out there, you know.
Oh,
we just
probably,
haven't
yeah.
listened to them.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to move away for the Ninth Doctor eventually, maybe after this season.
Explore the Eighth Doctor a lot. Yeah.
Because he has a box set next month. But yeah, it would be interesting to just kind of leave the Ninth Doctor in the background. Maybe occasionally return to him in this format now and again. Maybe do a bit of both. Maybe do, I don't know. We'll figure something out. It'd be really fun to still continue doing these Big Finish box sets because it's fun listening to these these actors play the characters in a prolonged sense.
Honestly, it's a nice change of pace sometimes. Especially editing wise and production wise for the podcast, these are way less effort than the video ones. You know, we don't need to do research. We don't need to collect clips. We don't need to fucking work on shit. You know, we can just sit and spaff shit for like 40 minutes and we're done.
If we ever do like a Patreon, I'd love to do like a Big Finish roundup where we occasionally do like maybe 2 or 3 box sets a month.
Do like a Big Finish book club.
Yeah, that'd be really fun to do, and we could talk to viewers and because this has been 35 minutes. I don't know how long we're gonna go. Probably not that long.
Not much longer. Yeah.
You're gonna take a look at next month's box set because
but then will we talk about the end of the month, Scott, when the news comes?
There's gonna be stuff to talk about next month.
There'll be one thing to talk about next month, and that's David Tennant as the Doctor again.
Oh God, yeah. This is an interesting era for Doctor Who. It's just, I'm curious.
How wild is it that fucking next week David Tennant is potentially playing the Doctor again on our TV sets?
Oh God, not even next week. When this episode uploads, because we're recording this a week behind. We're 2 days away from the centenary special.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But yeah, next month we're meeting the Sea Devils again. Are you excited?
Am I excited? No. I hate the Sea Devils. The Sea Devil episode with Jodie ruined them for me.
I've ruined them for you, as if you really enjoyed the first Sea Devil storyline with Third Doctor. Did you really enjoy the Third Doctor Sea Devil story?
I didn't enjoy it, but I got what I expected. Right? You know, it was dumb and really camp, but there were good moments. Sea Devils with Jodie's incomprehensible. You know? Completely just ludicrous. No idea.
Yeah. I'm excited for a Sea Devil episode coming up because, you know, it's something that the Ninth Doctor series has done well so far is, as I said, reinventing the wheel in terms of villains. So maybe we're going to get a really interesting storyline with the Sea Devils. You know, we'll see. I like the Sea Devils as a concept. They're all about genocide at the end of the day. And the Ninth Doctor is all about genocide. Not in the same way as the 13th Doctor.
Kind of like the opposite way of the 13th Doctor is about genocide, yeah.
Yeah, where he commits genocide and feels guilty about it.
Yeah. But like even then, he doesn't commit genocide. He thinks he's committed genocide and feels guilty about it. Jodie just commits genocide and is like pretty okay with it.
When this was written in 2005, he did commit genocide. That was the end of the story. Yeah. I do wonder if Russell T Davies would have changed that concept himself eventually, being like, okay, it doesn't sit right to me that the Doctor committed genocide. I need some way around this.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure he chatted a lot with Moffat about like the 50th anniversary and Moffat's own ideas with it. You know, it's as much as it is like this Doctor Who scripts are written by one person, they're all in a fucking wee club chatting to one another, being like, ho ho ho, let's fuck the canon again. The Ninth Doctor range. The next box set sounds interesting. We'll see if there's any weak points. Yeah, there might be. There might be.
I think there's been like one weak story from every box set, I would say.
At least there's been one. I think maybe at most 2 or 1.5 or something like that. But yeah,
we weren't that keen with the first box set, Ravagers, because it was all one continuous storyline, and we didn't feel it was that strong of a story.
Yeah, and then when they started doing the episodic ones, it was a lot better. But then the inconsistencies come in. I remember didn't they do an episodic one and then a two-parter, and the two-parter just wasn't very decent. It was like, okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the two-parter because it was the Brigadier and Cybermen again.
Yes, yes. Maybe it was the one shot that was bad in that box set. I remember, like, there's always one that's not solid, but I don't remember these box sets so well at the moment because it's been so long since we last talked about
the
Big
one
Finish.
shot in the two-parter storyline with the Brigadier was the funeral episode. We weren't that keen on it. It was a good concept, but it was a kind of like it was poorly executed, I would say.
Yeah,
but yeah, Ninth Doctor. I do wish there was a bit more of a storyline going on. Like, it'd be hard for new viewers to jump in, but at the same time, I would just like, here's a mini-series, you know?
It's the issue with it, isn't it? Because it's still canon, quote unquote, they can't really do any arcs with Ecclestone's Doctor, because Ecclestone's Doctor really only has one arc, which is explored in the series. It's hard to explore anything new with his version of the Doctor. I'm sure they could find something if they try, but the safer, easier, and probably more profitable way of doing it is to just have one shots where you don't really think too much about where this fits into the timeline of his Doctor, you know?
You know, if we had the Ninth Doctor just, like, investigate, like, a criminal organization or something, and have that spread across, like, 2 box sets maybe, it's a 6-parter, and there's a recurring cast of characters. Maybe he meets friends, maybe he meets villains that he'll just keep bumping into, and this thing goes across time and space.
I think what they should do is
what?
do... Yeah.
Yeah, we should have a storyline where there's a
6-parter. There's like this big like space tornado, and it's killing everything, and Earth is the center of the universe, and then the Doctor meets his mum, and also there's a glitter man, and he doesn't do anything. Also, time's there. It's both a planet, a concept, and a person simultaneously. I think that'd be a really good Big Finish box set.
Oh god, yeah. We're 1 week away from, 2 days away from a centenary special.
Thank fuck. I'm hype, but thank fuck.
We'll see what happens with it. At the end of the day, it's cool that we always have Doctor Who to lean back on, because Big Finish released 2 box sets this week, which is insane. That's like 6 hours of Doctor Who a week they're releasing at times.
God. That's insane.
You know?
It's so much. I guarantee you there's one person out there that buys every single fucking one of them.
You know, whereas some people who do actually, you know, Doctor Who reviews, unlike us, where they sit and review Big Finish storylines every week, is mental. It's mental in terms of like how much time they actually have. They work a full-time job as well. It's like, how? How do you have time to listen to 6 hours of Doctor Who a week?
It's literally mental. Go home, put it on like the fucking wireless in the 1940s. Like,
I am glad Big Finish does exist, well, because even if you're not enjoying what they're doing on TV, there's always something interesting in Big Finish.
There is 100% at least one Big Finish audio drama that everybody would enjoy. Like, there's something for everybody with Big Finish. They have so much content.
Like, I've heard the new series of the 6th Doctor adventures are really good. I've heard the recent release of the 11th Doctor was really good, even though it's not played by Matt Smith. I've heard it's like one of the best things they've ever done, which is I'd be interested in checking that out. I just don't have the time, and also I have like a big pile of Big Finish stuff I bought on sale that I still need to bite into. It's insane.
Yeah, the content they create is ridiculous.
You know, they just brought back Eric Roberts as the Master.
Yes,
they just
of course.
Released
oh my
Rose
God.
Tyler season 2.
Oh my God, we have to check out that Eric Roberts one at some point. I mean, we talked so much about him in the movie. You know, how could we ignore him now? But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe someday we should be like, okay, at the end of this month, we're listening to the 2 box sets of Master, and we're just going to talk about that at the end of the month. We could do that. Doesn't always have to be the 9th Doctor stories. I don't know. Maybe some viewer can suggest a box set we really need to check out, because we would.
Yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be very, very cool. Where could somebody suggest that, Scott?
At our email address at who watches who at
no
who watches whowatcheswhopod@gmail.com.
There it is.
I never say that part.
Yeah, whowatcheswhopod@gmail.com, where you could email us your Big Finish suggestions, your Big Finish thoughts, or Doctor Who thoughts in general, and we will read them out at the end of the month in our monthly news podcast. I guess we're basically wrapping up the episode. Next week we will be back with our centenary fucking special review, baby. It's happening. It's time. Jodie's regenerating into David Tennant, Ncuti Gatwa, one of them.
No, you want to do a quick prediction? Which one do you think it will be?
Oh, fuck.
Because I think it might be both. Maybe she gets split into two people somehow, and maybe one of them goes off to be David Tennant in an alternative world, and that's somehow connected to the real life Ncuti Gatwa, and we both simultaneously live together, and we have to find a way to merge back together.
My head tells me it's David Tennant. My heart tells me it's Ncuti Gatwa. So I'm going to say, let's wait and see for what next week or this weekend will bring.
Yeah, God.
Fucking nervous as
2
shit.
days away.
Nervous as shit. But you can find us on Facebook at Who Watches Who, on Twitter at Watches Doctor, where we apparently tweet super viral tweets about people being alive still, and that upsetting us. If you want to find out the context of that, go follow us on Twitter at Watches Doctor. You can follow me on Twitter at Cloth223, and you can follow me on Twitch at something orange, where I play video games. You can also find occasionally. I've been really fucking busy this month. You can also find short film stuff that I do at youtube.com/messyoutube. We're also on TikTok now with the mess stuff at TalkMess. So that's Talk TOK Mess. So you could find us there as well. Wow, I've got so many fingers in so many pies. How do I find the time?
I'm thankful you said pies there.
But until then, we will see you next week. Bye.